I am Luis Mena. I'm from Lepanto. It's a small town close to here, to the reserve, beside the Gulf of Nicoya. When I was a child, all the mountains around here were born in the right season, and it was normal to everybody. All that you see at night, all the hills around the towns with fire. At that time, there were everything was with grass, and nobody was thinking about forest or forest conservation. When I was a child, it was very difficult to see a deer at that time. So later, I went to the university and I studied biology, and after that, I was lucky. I don't know how, but I got a scholarship to the United States. I learned English in that way. And after that, I went to Cabo Blanco. I met Doña Karen. Doña Karen was raising money in order to help Cabo Blanco. So in the United States, I was involved with many international student associations, and we created the Costa Rican Association at Texas A&M. And so I have some ideas, the things that I was doing over there to do here. And when I met Doña Karen, I see the things that she was doing. She was raising money in order to buy land that was very expensive. We know that over here in the middle of the peninsula, where all the rivers start, the land is cheaper and you can do better. You can help more if you save the origin of all the rivers. So I was telling her, but she always was thinking only in Cabo Blanco. But one day, the one guy that was in some time the manager of Cabo Blanco, he went to Denmark and Sweden. So Doña Karen asked him to ask me for the idea. So I wrote something in English and sent it to her. After that, he said, I led the things over there. We don't know what is going to happen. Later, somebody called me and said, I'm interested in the things that Joaquin Alvarado live in or gave to us in Denmark. So he came here. We stayed here when the family was here, and after that we went to the mountains and we slept over there at 750 meters high. It was very cold that night. But at the end, he understood, he liked it, and they sent some money to us. It was the first money. After that, we have been buying more land. Since we bought this in 1996, no more burning, no more herbicides, no more cows, no more horses, and all the forest is coming back. Now we have 960 hectares that we buy, but other people have forests over here. And there is a part of forest that is like, let's say, 15 or 20,000 hectares over here, where the rivers start, the rivers begin. When the economy changed, 20 years ago, Malpais and Santa Teresa was covered by forest at that time. But because the people liked Santa Teresa and Malpais, the land was very expensive, and so all the forests disappeared. Perhaps someday the economy will change and cattle ranching will be a good business again, or perhaps people will like to live in the mountains or something like that. So we think that if we buy the land now, we have the opportunity to leave this area protected for forever, instead of a private person will say, okay, I'm not having more forest, we are selling this in order to have, let's say, teak, for example. That is not a good idea. Now we are very proud that we have, because in other places like San Monteverde or Osa Peninsula, it's more common that the international groups help the area, the people there in order to buy land. But over here, we did it. We don't know. People like the idea, and from different sources, we get the money. And now we have all these things. We have many species of different things. There is one example. In 2020, one guy from one museum from London came here in order to study a very tiny bees that we have over here. And now he said, he from that year to now, he is coming every 2 years. And he said that this is the favorite place in Costa Rica, and he had like 250 species new species that he need to put the name. He asked my name in order to have a name for the species, or Fabio, or Carlos, or Doña Mary, or Nulfo. And he said that this is one of the best places for these bees. If we have grass, or if we have fires every year, we don't have those things. We lose those things. So every year we in different way we get some money, and after that we buy 25, 30 hectares, 10 hectares. Is enough. It will be something more in order to have more forest. Some people say that secondary forest is not good. They want primary forest, but we don't have primary forest over here. But secondary forest is better now that we are talking about climate change, because secondary forest is growing and getting more CO2 from the atmosphere, and liberating oxygen and getting all the carbon. Over here we have carbon sequestered, like a fossil of carbon. And when you have a primary forest, they get CO2, but always they leave the same amount. So secondary forest, in order to get CO2, is better than primary forest. And also the ocean, but over here we are talking about forest. We now know more. For example, we have one species of one endemic plant that is from Costa Rica, from the Central Pacific. Let's say Carrara, Manuel Antonio. And we don't know how it jumped the Gulf and is here. And it's in good shape. We have pumas. Before, it was very difficult to see a puma or ocelot. We have many of them over here. We don't have jaguars still. We hope someday. And now many people are learning about birds. When we have kids over here, we tell them all the things related with our story. They are always very impressed, and they like the place, and they never forget the visitor they have over here. We hope, or we would like to have money in order, for example, to have groups of kids every month, for example, or every dry season. Because when they arrive here and they stay for one day, one night, or 2 days and one night, they won't forget this for forever. They will remember. Now that we are meeting people that is 25 or 20 or 30 years old, and they were here before, and they remember, and they like the place, and they want to come again. So it's in one way, we want to have these people interested in the reserve, because the group of people that were at the beginning, we are getting old. And we don't know until what year we are still alive. So we need young people to come. But buying land is so good in order to, because the forest is coming back very quickly. Birds, the wind, the bats, the corimundis, they always are sending seeds for everywhere. So you leave one area without fire and without cows, and very soon they will have many degrees. And we plant trees, the ones that are more common, the very rare species. We plant in the middle of the others, but it's not reforestation. We are not doing this by lines, or no. this is owned by an association, so we are many people helping, and we say the reserve is from the people of the peninsula, but nobody is the owner, and nobody receive money from the reserve. For example, now we have a turismo tourism activity here. We are receiving visitors from every country in the world, and the money is going to have to pay the people that live here. On if you have more money, we can have like those campamentos for children. It's not for one family or for one people. Another thing is that we with the activity that we have here with visitors arriving, we want to help in some way the communities around. So the cheese or the beans or the eggs or fish is from the towns around. No, sometimes we buy the things also in the groceries in Jicaral, but we want more money from visitors to different people at the community. I don't know. Some people want to help projects like this in order to save taxes. Other people is like to have a new face, but we want people that like the idea and that enjoy being here, and that will be very positive and energetic when we are walking on the trails over here. But every help that we can receive is welcome. Over here, we say that we have almost 1,000 hectares. From the scientists say that this kind of forest, we fix 8 tons of carbon per hectare. So per year, we have 80,000 hectares, tons of carbon that we are getting sequestrated from the atmosphere to the forest. So that is a good thing, and this is secondary forest. So if we don't have fires, if nobody is cutting the trees, we will have those 80,000 8,000 tons of carbon fixed every year in the forest. That I don't know how many airplanes or cars are spending giving it all those amounts of carbon, but this is a good thing to do for people that want to do something in order to reduce their amount of carbon that they spend to the atmosphere. This is a good project. And now the cellulars and the TV is absorbing all the child area of the people. But when they are here and you try to explain about snakes or bats or birds, after that they learn how to put more attention to the sounds or things like that. In other ways, no. There are kids in the towns that they don't know anything. And I always say all the snakes are bad, or all the bats are vampires. And no, it's not true. And when they arrive, very small kids with very young people, they learn, and after that learning, it won't disappear forever. That one that singing over there is a very pretty bird, but it's too small. We'll see if we can find it. Es un euphonia. Euphonia.